I did actually have 3 people get A's in this class, though.
Was it me?
This class had 3 A's. Raise your hand if you think you got an A.
Me, obviously. Obviously.
Some of you with your hands up did get an A.
See what I say.
Some of you with your hands up did.
See what I say. Did I?
Raya, Frankie, and Zakira got an A.
What?
And outside of that, the next lowest score might not have even been passing. It wasn't pretty. The average, even with 3 A's in this class, was about a 25%. So we got a lot of work to do. So what we're doing today? Oh, should I talk about it now? Yeah, let's talk about it now. This is actually very serious. Like, there's no joking. I can't see my face, so I'm not smiling. So I put a lot of faith in my students, and I value trust a lot. Apparently, I can't trust them.
Okay, what do we do as a class?
Wasn't as a class. It was very small number of individuals, but individuals I would have never expected this of, which means apparently I just can't trust anybody. So on this quiz, there were 2 versions. Apparently, everybody didn't notice that. They felt like if they just took the answers, because they looked the exact same on the front page, they felt like if they took the answers from the front page from people, they'd be good. Yeah, the answers didn't make any sense whatsoever if you went from one version to the other. So it's clear that some people cheated. Not just in this class. This was across multiple classes. So, and I know you guys probably cheat all the time. And you think it's a big joke, and it's not a joke. Like, because I put my trust in you that you're not going to do it. And when you do it, it means I can't trust you. It means I can't trust anybody. So now it ruins it for everybody. And if you read the sheet, I don't know if you guys ever actually read your student conduct. First offense for cheating. First offense. 0 on the assignment. So that's a 0 on the quiz for them, which is hard to come back. AP contacts your parent. So the assistant principal will now call their parent and say, hey, we caught your son, your daughter, whoever it was, cheating on a quiz, which I would guess parents aren't going to be thrilled about. And then you go to IC for a day. That's your first offense. If it happens again, those same things happen, except for the IC. You get suspended instead of IC. So it's a big deal. Like, again, I know it goes on. It happens all the time. I'm sure online, especially, those kids can get away with anything, which is why I ask them verbal questions instead of just having them turn stuff in. But that I don't know exactly how strictly that's followed. I can guarantee you there will be a 0 in a parent contact, even if I make a contact with a parent. I'm waiting to hear back from the administrator that is like my administrator, not necessarily their administrator. So, and here's the thing, like, I will do everything I can possibly do to help you get your grades up your trial. That's first of all, it's my job, but I do it also because I care about you guys. I want you to, I'm not going to give you grades. Like, I want you to learn, but I'll figure out a way to work with you, even if we have to do something one-on-one, if I have to pull you out of another class, if I have to, I don't know, if I have to give up my personal time after school or during my planning period. I mean, I'll get your grades up if you care about your grades. If you don't care, then, like I said, I'm not going to give you grades. So to take that kind of a chance, and like I said, just really to just kind of, I hate to use this word, it's very strong, but I mean, it's true. It's like a betrayal of my trust. So, and like I said, of people that I would not have expected it from. And not just this class, like I said, it's across right now 3 classes, I believe. And probably more, but some of you probably did it and got away with it. That's why I'm doing this with the whole class, and I'll talk to the individuals as well. But yeah, so it was a little disappointing for me. Like, that's why I say I'm definitely not smiling underneath this mask. It makes me sad in a way. All right, so now that we're all bummed out, real quickly, all we're doing today is graphing a line. That's it, because that was really probably the worst. Well, the two graphing parts, which we'll do the other graphing part probably next class. The first thing you've got to be able to do, and we struggled a little bit with this even, you've got to be able to find the slope and the y-intercept in the equation. So again, today's the day to take a lot of notes, because you'll have an exit ticket at the end of class on exactly what we've done today. Oh, I need to put a timer on to make sure I start that in time. So that'll be at we need to start that at 1:10. An hour and 10 minutes. I'll set this for an hour 5 minutes, like 65 minutes, just to make sure we get started. So the first thing is you got to be able to pull out the slope and the y-intercept. For the most part, we can get the easy ones, it looked like. Here's where I saw mistakes. So again, for those of you that are still struggling, make sure you watch out for these when it comes to the exit ticket today. We missed negative signs a lot, either on the slope or on the y-intercept. If there is a negative sign in there, subtraction is a negative sign. It's adding a negative. I've talked about that before. This equation is the same thing as 4x plus -2. And I've rewritten it that way on some of the problems that we've done. So that subtraction sign goes with this number 2. So when I pull out the y-intercept, so again, I don't think a lot of you have written this in your notes, so you're going to write it right now, since you have an exit ticket. Write that formula. Y equals mx plus b. At the very least, you can use it today for the exit ticket. That value is your y-intercept. The b. So basically, it's just a number. There's nothing there but a number. And maybe a negative sign. That's still just -2. It's still just a number. This value, and I'll be even more specific in a second, is the slope. Again, if there's a negative sign in front of that number in the equation, which there's not in this one, then it stays with the number. So I said this multiple times. I said x is not part of the slope. This is the slope. Just the number 4. Again, if there was a negative sign in front of it, we would include that. Not. That is the slope, just the number. So in this case, just the m is the slope. So this then is the y-intercept. Or if I were to circle it up here, I would have circled the subtraction sign and the 2. So we would write in those 2 numbers. Got to be able to do that correctly, or else your graphing will always be wrong. So for the next piece, I guess I'll erase. Well, I don't need to erase it. The formula for now, there's another one we'll learn later, is just rise over run. If you can do those 2 things, if you can pull out the slope and the y-intercept, and then if you know how to write rise over run, you should be able to graph one. Really all you get to do. There is obviously another step. You got to know how to use this as well. But if you do enough problems, shouldn't be hard. And I'm just going to give you time to do some problems. I'm not going to, I will walk around. I'm not really going to give a grade on it, because your grade's going to be the exit ticket, which is way more valuable than me walking around and giving you a few points for classwork. Does anybody have, and again, today's a day to be honest. Like, I know some of you are shy, you don't want to think other people to think that you're not smart, but, and no, I don't mean to say this to offend anybody, but you're in this class for a reason. Math's not your thing. And you're not as you see, you're not the only one in here. There are more kids in Algebra 1A than any other math class. Because math's hard. Math doesn't come naturally to people. You can't be scared of it. You can't be scared to say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about, dog. I'll fix it. But if you don't say anything, then I assume you get it. I give you a quiz like we just had. Like if you guys would have been saying, hey, I'm not getting it, Mr. Gill, we wouldn't have had the quiz yet. But nobody says anything. No, at some point we still gotta have the quiz, but I could at least do something else or try to help in another way. So you guys have got to let me know when you're really, really struggling with something. I expect a lot out of you. I get that. That's because when you go out and you get jobs, they're going to expect a lot out of you. They're not going to sit there and hold your hand throughout everything that you have to learn to do a job. So go find somebody else. So that's why I have high expectations for you, just because I know they will. All right, any questions on that then? Oh, if you're online, again, you should have already downloaded that or taken a picture of what I just showed you. Well, I didn't show it to you yet. I'll show it to you in a second if you can't download it. For now, you can just take notes if you haven't downloaded it. All right. Oh, whoops. Let's go to another. All right, so here's our so if you have this sheet, pull the sheet out. If you don't have it, I have some up here. There's some more up here. If for some reason you don't have it. So I didn't force you to use this, and maybe I should have, because too many of you tried to use it on the test and didn't know what in the world it was saying, because it's not super simple to follow if you've never tried to follow it before. No, if you had tried to follow before, you kind of understand, okay, well, I know what that one means. I know what that number means. I know what that step means. But if you just read it for the first time, I mean, I use math language in there, math terminology. And if you didn't try to do it, then you probably didn't understand what it was saying. So let's go through now and learn how to use it. Again, another time not to be shy. If you don't have it, come get one. There's a lot of people still looking. Anybody else? Find it? Lillian, find it? You can go real quick now. You're fine. I'll be going slowly. So, like I said, you did well on the quiz, so I think you get this for the most part. We're going to do several practice ones, so I'll be able to work with you, man. All right, so first step. I'm kind of adding a step. You may want to write this on the sheet because this is not on there. Again, I skip some steps sometimes. You shouldn't. But you're going to now, whenever you're going to graph, whether you have an equation and you're going to create the line, which is what we're doing here, or whether you have the line and you're going to create the equation. You're going to write those two things down every time. Someone kind of buried, yeah, there you go. So, I'll give you a second. I want you to do that out of that problem. You should be able to pull out, there's no negative signs, so you won't have any negative signs, but you should be able to pull out the y-intercept and the slope. What I'm going to say today is going to be the easy version, which means it won't always be the correct version. If they throw you like some little tricks, then this may not work, but we're going to stick, for the exit tickets, we're going to stick with pretty easy problems. Except for one of them, but that one's going to be almost a bonus. All right, so, I just did this earlier, I'll do it again. In the formula, that's where I get those numbers from, right there. The one that's with the x, or typically it will be the first term is the slope. The one that's at the end, or more specifically without the x, without the variable, so just a number like this, is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is positive 2. Slope is 1/2. That's not on your sheet, but I would encourage you to do that. When we do the worksheet, you'll see that I put that up on the screen, even though it's not on the worksheet, for you to do that as the first step. So now we get into the actual steps on the sheet, and I'm going to explain what each step means. Step 1, put a point, and then it says X and Y coordinates. All that's saying is just every point is an X and Y coordinate. So this is an X and Y coordinate. This is an X and Y coordinate. All of these are X and Y's. The X is -5, the Y is -2. For that. The X is -2, the Y is 1. The X is 2, the Y is 6. That's all that little part in parentheses means. If that confuses you, scratch out the X and Y coordinate part. Just leave the point part of it. But we're going to wind up putting a point somewhere on this graph. The place we're going to put it is on the y-intercept. Well, we just wrote the y-intercept, +2. So the only thing you have to remember right now is which +2. There's only 2 +2's. +2 there, +2 there. Unfortunately, a lot of you chose the wrong one, which is this one. That's the x-axis. We need to put it, because it's called the y-intercept, right? So we need to put it on the y-axis. Oh, there you go. Step 1 done. I gave points for that on the quiz. You got, just for putting a point on the right spot to start, you got a 40% on that problem. And then if you did anything from there, it went up. So we've done step 1. We put a point on the y-intercept, which really just winds up being a point on the y-axis. Boy, I know sometimes kids get confused. I didn't say this in the other. Oh, am I recording? Did I start it? I hope I started it. I think I did. I went to start it, and I don't remember if I actually. Yeah, I am. Okay. So I know sometimes get confused between the y-intercept and the y-axis. So let's go over that briefly. The y-axis is the whole entire line. It goes on forever. That's the y-axis. Goes on forever in both directions. It's an imaginary line. It's not even a real line. It just helps us to know, or to put this particular line somewhere on the graph in the right spot. So the x and the y-axis are just really imaginary things. It's like GPS. Like there's imaginary lines that help us do GPS. I'm not going to go into that. The y-intercept is just one single point on the y-axis. It's the point where our line is going to cross over. So if our y-intercept is 2, then the line is going to go through 2 some way, somehow. We don't know exactly how it's going to look yet, but we know it's going to go through that point. That's the y-intercept, one single point. The y-axis is the whole entire up and down axis. Let me see if I can get rid of all that. Oh no! Oh yeah, no, that's right. So we put a point on the y-intercept. So our next step, it says if the slope is not a fraction already, then change it to a fraction. Well, we already have a fraction, so we can kind of stop there. In this particular problem, we have a fraction. We go to step 3. So we're skipping over that step. Skip. For this problem, we skip that. So it says write the slope formula. It even gives you what that formula is, rise over run. Yeah, that should be enough. That should be enough for me. So we write the slope formula, and you literally write rise over run. If you need to write in your notes to the side, because there's a little room on the side, write that. If you don't understand what this means, then write it like that. And then it says next to that, you need to write the fraction from number 2. Or basically, you just need to write the fraction, the slope as a fraction. In this case, the slope's already a fraction. That's why we skipped to number 3. So we write 1 over 2. That's the whole reason we need to change it to a fraction if it's not already a fraction, because we have a rise and a run. So if we have a rise and a run, then we need 2 numbers. We need a fraction next to it instead of just one number. which you'll see in the next example. So now we just did step 3. Step 4 and 5, I'm going to all do at one time. I broke them out on a sheet, but they're not. It took a lot of typing, but they're really not very complex. So we need to know, where is the second point on the line so that we can create the line? Because right now, we don't know where our line goes. We don't know what angle it's going to be at because we only see one point. So we need a second point. You good? So we need a second point. And that will tell us exactly where our line goes. You need 2 points to create a line. That's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the slope. That's where the slope comes into play. My run number is how far left or right I need to go. Run is left or right. Doesn't matter where you are. Run is always left or right. That's run. Rise, which is a little more intuitive, I think, is up or down. Hopefully that's relatively intuitive. Like you would think about rising as going up, so rise has to be your up and down number. So I need to go, and they're both positive, that's important. I need to go run left or right of 2. Well, if it's positive, that means right. This direction is always positive for run. This direction is always positive for rise. So if you need to write that, up is positive, right is positive. And then you could write next to run, this is left and right. This is up and down for rise. Like whatever you need to do to make sure you understand. And then you could write this way is positive. You could even write another arrow that says left is negative. Whatever you need to do for that 4 and 5 that we're about to do. So, if right is positive, and I need to go left and right for my run, and right is positive, I need to go right 2 spaces. That's what the number 2 tells me. How far? It doesn't tell me to do this, by the way. I do not go from here, because this is what a lot of people did, and then go down to 1/2. A lot of people just went straight. You need to come back quickly, because you need to see this. You do not go from this number to the 1/2 number on the X. A lot of people did that, not just in this class, and it actually happened very good. Has nothing to do with that. This 1/2 number has nothing to do with going directly there. It has to do with how far over and how far up you need to go. And that doesn't even make sense anyway, because that's a positive number. If we went to 1/2, that would be a negative slope, remember? A line sloping down is a negative slope, so that wouldn't even work anyway. So here's your next step. This is 4 and 5 all together. Kind of your last step, really. I need to say, okay, from my original starting point, like it even says, start at the point you created in number 1. That's the only point really we have on the graph. It says go left or right, whatever my run number is. I mean, that's not what it says, but that's what it means. So I go left or right, whatever my run number is. Well, positive 2, and it doesn't necessarily, actually it does mean this. It does kind of just mean you go over to the positive 2, frankly, because you're always going to start at 0, because you're going to be on the y-axis. So you are really going over to positive 2, but then you go up, because it's a positive 1 for your rise. So my run is positive 2. That means I go left or right, but I got to go right because it's positive. And then my rise is positive 1, so I have to go up 1. So I went this way, 2, and then that way, 1. And that's how I got that second dot. Second point, I should say. And that's the only other point I need, and now I just connect those 2 with a line. So then once you have 2 points, that's your line. Like you don't, Need any? You could do more points if you really wanted to, like keep following that pattern. But if you just get those 2 points correct, then you're fine. So that's the line. So, and again, 4 and 5 were the going right was 4, going up was 5, even though there's a whole bunch of typing. Does anybody need me to explain any piece of that? But fine, I know for a fact some of you don't get it, no doubt about it. All right, so I'm getting rid of all of that then, because you have that paper in front of you. What in the world did I just do with that? Well, that's weird. Oh. All right, do that one. Oh, if you don't have graph paper, you're supposed to, I don't know if I told you not, to grab that to practice on. You really don't need all of those. I thought we'd be doing a lot more on those sheets, but since you have a worksheet, you're going to be using the worksheet. We'll probably do a couple of them. So those of you that are online, you should have some kind of graph paper you can use. If not, you need to just create some that looks kind of like what I have here. You don't necessarily have to have all of the background lines. All you really need is draw a y-axis, an x-axis, and then just put the numbers in, going left and right and up and down. You don't need all of those other little grid lines. So if you just created something like that, that would work for graphing lines. They may not come out perfectly, but for this particular lesson, it doesn't really matter. So if you just created something like what I just did in red, that'd be fine. So for your first step, do this also. Do your slope and your y-intercept for your first step. Even though it's not on the sheet, make sure you pull that out correctly. I'll walk around in a minute. Like I said, I'm not grading this because you got an exit tape coming up. It's going to be worth way more points than what I would give you for classwork. I'll give you until 41, and then I'll start going over it. So make sure you do the slope and the y-intercept first, the M and the B. That's not one of the steps on your sheet. Well, there's only one equation up there. You're doing equations up there. Write that equation down, because I'm going to have to leave the screen to see what's going on online. I either have a message or somebody trying to get in. That's true. I got it. Oh, yeah. So we're doing a practice problem. It's the one. Whoop. I'll have to, let me answer this real quick and I'll put it back up there. Oh, you may need the graph paper. I don't. Right there on that desk. So that equation right there, Shayla. Oh, I'm already past time. I'll give you, since I'm having somebody online is going to be coming back in a second, I'll give you until the 40. I'm going to go a little faster now that we've done one. And I'm not going to walk around and check just because I'm going to be doing it in front of you so you can check your own work. I got a question on it. Well, I'm not doing it, so just follow along. Again, ask questions when I'm doing it. If you don't understand something, ask me when I'm doing it. All right, so we need to pull out the slope and the y-intercept. Make sure we include negatives. If you're not getting this stuff, write that down. Don't forget negatives or subtraction signs or whatever you think of it as. Well, I don't have anything with the 2, so that's pretty simple. But I do have a negative sign there. And again, the b value is the one without the x, normally the one with the n at the end. So there we go. Here's my 2 values I'm going to need. Now, so number 1, done. Step 2. All right, well, it says if the slope is not a fraction. So I look at the slope, m. M is the slope, remember? So m is the slope. Is that a fraction? No, that's not a fraction. I need to make that into a fraction. Phone up, please. So, my slope is not a fraction. It even tells me how to make it into a fraction if I don't remember. To change an integer just means it's not a fraction. So it could be a 2, could be a -1, could be a -7, could be a 4, could be a 0, technically. So I need to change it to a fraction, and it tells me by putting it over the number 1. All that means is I take the number and I put it over 1. I've changed it to a fraction. 2 divided by 1, which is what that line means, divided by, is still 2. But now it's in a fraction form. So if I look, so now we've done that. So if I go to 3, it says write the slope formula, and it tells me that's rise over run. I kind of have already done the next part of it. So I'm not going to do it again, but it then says next to that, write the fraction you created in number 2, or the fraction that was already in the equation. If we skip number 2, well, I created this fraction because I didn't have one. So I created that, so I just write that right next to the rise over the run. So that was step 3, so now I'm done with step 3. Again, I'm going to do 4 and 5 together. I broke them out separately. They're really not that long of steps. It's just a lot of typing, a lot of explaining. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I didn't finish number 1. I totally skipped over number 1 actually. I was supposed to put a point on the y-intercept where the b value is, the -5. I never did that. I was thinking this was step 1, but it's really not step 1. So we should have done that as step 1. Remember, it's always on the y-intercept. If you need to explain that to yourself, put a point, like if you need to say in number 1 on the y-intercept, if you need to explain that that's the up and down axis, write something in there, because way too many people go over to this -5 and put it over here. That is not the y-axis, that's the x-axis. It's not the y-intercept. It will be the x-intercept, which is a thing, but So if you need to explain this part right here on the y-intercept, that's the up and down axis. You just put a number on the up and down axis, the y-axis. So now my last step really, again, I'm doing 4 and 5 together. I just need to know where's my next point going to be. I have a run, these are both positive. Positive 1, positive 2. So we just said earlier, a positive direction is that way. So that's positive, and that's positive. So I'm going to go right and then up because I have two positive numbers. All right? Well, then let me go right and then up. So my 1 is positive, so I go over 1. So over 1, and then up 2. And that's where I put my second point. So I went from the starting point, I went 1 unit to the right, because that's the 1, and it's a positive 1. So 1 to the right, and then positive 2 means I need to go up 2, and that's my second point. Earbuds out, please, Lily. And then now I just connect them with a line. And that will be my line. It makes sense too, but then it's sloping up left to right because at a positive slope. Remember, always check that. That is a positive slope going up left to right. It is a positive slope in the equation. So that makes sense. So before we get to the worksheet, before we get to the worksheet, does anybody have any questions? Anything I need to go back over? You're about to practice it yourself with a couple of problems. All right, we'll see. Thing, not on that yet. So there, do both of those. You have two different, do them on 2 different graphs. You should have the graph paper. So you're doing, on 2 separate graphs, you're going to do this one and then that one. And this I'll be walking around to see how we're doing. Oh, there's been supposed to help. Now you're good. So remember, start out by doing this. What is your M value? What is your B value? So that's your slope and your y-intercept. Same thing down here. Once you pull those out, then you can start with the steps that are on the sheet. I'll give you a couple minutes and then I'll come around and start looking. I gotta figure out something to do with you, Renee. I know you do. Who sits in you in front of you? Oh, you know, sure doesn't. How about right here?
Where's the one?
No, I don't think
So what number is that one? That number 2?
No.
You remember how to find the y-intercept?
Yeah, I haven't seen him in I
How
don't
do you find the
know.
y-intercept?
Literally.
It's
So
a number
Renee, I'm
after
probably gonna move you up
What number's
here.
after
Not right
that?
now, so you can see.
Maybe 3, so where do you?
I don't want to pull
Yeah,
back
right there.
anybody.
Maybe 3, I got it. Yeah. And then what's the slope?
All right, so you should be done with the first one. You should have pulled out the slope and the y-intercept. You should have put a point on the y-intercept, and then you should have done the rise and the running graph, the first one. I'm gonna start walking around. We'll see how everybody's doing. Let me see where it should be.
Is that hard? As long as you know where to put the.
Again, this has nothing to do with going from a point here to 3/4 on the x-axis. Remember that. You got to use the rise and the run numbers. Equation next to those, and then
Number 4.
Oh, no, I specific.
So y is that's 2. What's your y-intercept?
y is up and down though. Whatever that is. Yes.
What's in front of you?
So the -3 on that.
What's the m? -3, but when you put it underneath it, there's negative. Right, that's all you have to do. That's it. That was where's the y-intercept? Just 2. Yeah, put that on the 2. And what's the slope? How many do you rise and run? So over 1.
Wait, is anybody out in the restroom right now?
No, it's negative.
Did you bring the pass back, Sheila?
Over 1 is, no, up to it. Yeah, you can only do 1.
Shayla, did you bring the pass back?
Yeah, I don't think you would face it.
That's 31.
So it's like up there.
Yeah,
No, we don't.
or
Put the food up,
up
please.
1 and then
That's
up.
same thing as phone. No food, no earbuds, no phones.
Should be either way. So both ways. Yeah, then. With this one, you can do it either way. If it's 3 over 1, you could go down 3 and over 1, or you could go.
Well, we're teaching one way.
Well,
So
you know how when you have to go the other way, you do the opposite.
well, we're not even there yet. I know what you're saying, but we need to get one way down, and then we'll worry about that other one. Right now, we do not have one way down.
Yeah.
So just bring it back to me so we can do it again if we have to.
So what's the way or is it?
All right.
Where's
Walk
the
around.
Where's the 2? On the y line, where's the positive 2? Look at it, goes out there.
So where's the where's
Every time.
we got
It goes on that y line, whatever that
We need to fix
is.
it.
Whatever the number after the x is, if it's in the right order. And what's the slope? When you put underneath the -3, there's no.
I'm walking around. I'm not seeing a whole lot of people doing anything.
The 3 over 1. You have to have the rise and run. So which way is -3?
Well, actually, no, we didn't.
We didn't run it. Which
The
way is
number that's all by
positive 1
itself
to the right?
is
One to
right.
the right, and which way is -3?
I'm gonna put the.
To the
Oh, wait,
right.
which one are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I was looking.
Like when I go for the same
It's negative, you go up or down. Right. So from your way, so you go over 1
She
and
asked
down
me
to the
what I
right.
No, I'm just curious. What it's the same
Down
as
to the right
that.
or right.
What is it that you
I
don't?
just told her all I did was like,
It's
I have to get born.
Because there's a negative
We
sign.
sat down and watched.
So that negative sign just stays with the number five.
Friday was after he was born.
Right, three.
Friday's my week.
That negative sign stays with
And
that.
there you
That
go.
was good for me.
Right on that
Each
line.
number has negative.
Every time.
Your slope is the.
There you go.
No, you're nasty.
No,
What are you saying?
like
Write
outside.
those down.
Oh, that was-
Be able to.
Yeah, it's like you holding shade on his stomach while you're sleeping. Yeah, it's this.
No.
Yeah.
That's not how it was.
Is this for that?
I came in there and the switch already.
Stop lying, your mom said something
My
different.
dad's ain't had a scooter.
What are you talking about? First of all, you shaved far on the day. He's slow. He shot 3 times.
And then
So I was like, I just kept looking at him, he slapping me in my face, like, what's going on? So I jumped.
Y'all broke the couch.
Let's keep the volume down while I'm helping people, please.
I broke the machine.
Aaron, please. Let's not yell across the room. People are trying to work. Some people can't work in that.
Right one is 3 and 4. So up 3 and over 4. Or you guys
You
are
got
over
that there?
4, under 3.
And then you just draw a line all through it. So now do the next.
No.
Hopefully you did it correct, right?
Wait, this one, we go down?
No, you did a -3/2 here.
You said whatever you want.
No, I didn't say.
The second one?
What are you talking about?
That then you said.
The second one?
No, that's when you're plugging in
So what's the
that's
way
like when you're plugging in a number for X and solving for Y. We're not solving anything. If you want it like this, is 3 halves the same thing as 3?
Y intercept is 5 and 2.
No, that'd be 1.5.
Oh.
You can't change the value, you got to go to
Yeah,
1.
yeah.
What's the?
Phone should not be out. Really? This is about to go badly for this class. If I see anything else out, there's 3 things I should never see in this class. I should never see phones, I should never see earbuds, and I should not see food. Why is the phone still out? Don't pull it out in class, I'm sorry. There are no phones in class. I don't care if it's your mom, your grandma, if they need to get a message, you tell them they need to go through the front office. That looks good. No, this slope, I can look at that immediately and see it's a negative slope, right? So that would be down. So you have, pull this out, but you didn't
It's
put it
3
in the
over
point.
4.
Your starting point should have been +2 on the Y-intercept. This should have been
So you
-3.
go over 4 and up 3
Other than that.
from the Y intercept.
Negative.
You got
I
it?
just put in, oh, I think you used the starting point of -3. You started with that. That's what you started at. Well, you still use 3 when you do the rise and run. Remember, we start at B value.
So go right 4, 1, 2, 3, and then go up 3. Oh, yeah, put it up, that's right on. And then do, right there on the next one. Did you do the second one?
Pretty good,
Go
right?
down that one. Oh, you did.
Mhm.
2.
Yes.
Down 3. You only went down 2. If you go down 3 and over 1.
Music. All right, if I've already checked you on these, you should have already grabbed the worksheet earlier. If you didn't, you can come grab the actual worksheet that we're doing. This one, it says CUDA software graphing lines in slope-intercept form. So if I've already come around and said, yeah, that looks good, you can just start working on this.
Wait, hold on, you know,
Remember, do the M and the B first, even though it doesn't have a spot for that on here. Do the M and the B first. Were yours good?
Matt.
So I say those look good. I don't know if you were done.
Thing 1 and thing 2.
So you finished those other ones.
Over 1, so you got those here, not there.
So
You went right through, you
this
took
is
those.
the Y intercept B value. And typically, or all my stuff. Just a couple.
And then start everything on.
3x.
So it's also funny. It hurt. It's not funny.
You write that, don't come back, check. You got the Y-intercept right, that's good.
Did everybody get a paper?
Rise, overrun,
Paper?
should be writing 3/4 into this. And then the run should be 4 and up 3. Right, a second. So on this paper, those of you that just got it, the answer is already there. But I still want you to try it this way. I don't have to walk around and check your answer. So if you'll notice, the line that is on the first problem, if you follow the steps, you would start on the -1, which is already kind of like on the line. That would be your first point. And then if you went over 4, I think it's over 4 and up 1, your second point will be on that line. So that line is your answer. It will just allow you to check without me necessarily having to be right there, whether or not you're getting it right. Now, if you're not getting it right, if you can't figure out why you're not landing on the line, then let me know and I'll come around and check. But you can check your own answers now. That's why I kind of let you guys start on it, because you'd already gotten 1 or 2 right. And I also actually just messed up. I didn't mean to give you the answers. But I like the fact that it's on. Good. And that looks good. Did you get? So go ahead and start on that. Again, you should be able to check your own answer. So I'll give you an example real quick. So for the first problem, oh no, that's not the first problem. So for the first problem, the line should look like this. So the first problem should look something like this on your paper, right? But you're still following the same process we just went through. Just ignore that there's a line on there. I hope that doesn't confuse you more. So I would still do the same steps. I'd look at the equation. I'm kind of doing the first one for you. It's already on there, but that's negative. That's already a fraction. So my slope is 1/4. My b is -1. So you'd be doing the same exact steps we just went through. So I start at -1. Well, -1 is right here. I then say, all right, well, I need to write rise over run next to my fraction. If it wasn't a fraction, I would have made it a fraction. So my run is +4. So I go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1. And you should be putting a point on that line that's already there, because that line is the correct line. So just kind of ignore that the line is there, and then put your points wherever you think they should go, and you should wind up being on the line. If you're not on the line, then you did something wrong, and you can go back and check it.
Are they all in slope form?
Yeah, they're already given. They don't have to change anything around. They're all y. Well, no, some of them are y equals and then just a number, or x equals a number, but I'm not worried about that just yet. So you've got, practice that. We've got about 17 minutes before we do an exit ticket. One of the problems on the exit ticket I'm probably not going to make you do, because we're not going to get to it today. We're just going to practice the more simple versions, not the harder version. Or maybe I'll do it for you and everybody will get it right. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do it for you so everybody will get me stuff on there. Let's see. Check sure you want to machine. So you're landing on them. So now here, +2 is
Right.
this +2. Remember, starting point
Like you
is
did.
always going to be on this axis. This axis. Right?
This is a different one. Put M,
And then you would
and
actually
B.
go over one.
So what's your
down
slope?
3.
No, you just have to tell him, what is the
Positive
slope?
run to go over 1, and that's negative, so you're going down.
What is the slope?
Just be careful on those negatives.
The number in
When
front
you're
of the
doing the right
axis slope.
steps, we just need to clean it up a little bit. Remember, when you
What's the way
start,
there?
I'm still seeing this every once in a while, and this is guaranteed
That's it.
points.
Sorry for
If
this.
you just do this one
Just
step
want you to
right,
find this stuff and-
make sure your starting point, the B value, the 2 in this case, should always be on this axis. It's always on the up and down axis, the Y axis. Don't put it on the X, the left and right. You always start on that vertical axis, the one going up and down.
That's why it's called Y-axis.
That is exactly why it's called the Y-axis.
Y-intercept.
That's why it's called Y-intercept. If you get confused about which axis goes which way, there's an old rhyme that you probably use, actually several of them. Y goes to the sky. Y and sky rhyme. So Y goes up and down. Y goes to the sky.
I never heard that
So
one.
go ahead, ask me something. Over here.
So real quick, and I'll let you go. So you have the right starting point. So from there, we need to say, okay, what is our slope? You should write down slope, and then right next to it, 3/4. Or I'm sorry, right, rise over run, and then next to that, like 3/4. Yeah, that's fine. So now, what we do from our original point is we need to go run, and they're both positive. That means you're right and left. So I need to go right, because run is left and right. Does that make sense? Because rise, think about rising up and down. Run. So you would go to count. You're actually counting. You're not going up to a number. Like that's what I see you did. You went over to the 4/3 number. You're actually from here counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So that. So maybe I didn't say this. I don't think I did today. Maybe I haven't ever said it. When you do rise over run, you're counting the run and the rise. You're not going to those numbers. You're counting over 4, up 3.
Once you put the M and the B, that's all.
He actually just asked me first. So why don't you go ahead and go, and then you can go.
What's the number after that? That's the Y-intercept.
Well, again, your number should fall right on this line. So if you're not right on the line, so again, so you go from this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just you go up 1. You don't go to 1, you just go up 1. So again, I'm seeing this mistake every once in a while, so let me go over it again. When I do this second part, the rise and the run,
You can check your
Here. So when I do the rise and the run, I'm getting this mistake a lot. I don't go from my starting point, which was in this case -5. I'm not going from this over to some number. Like I'm not just looking for these numbers somewhere on the grid. I'm counting. I count 1 to the right and then 2 up. That's how I get that point. I don't look for the number 2 here, or the number 1, or the number 2, comma 1. I don't do any of that. I'm counting from this spot. So maybe I need to write that in. I count 1 to the right and then count 2 up. You don't just automatically try to go to 2 or 1 or something like that, which is what a lot of people are doing. Oh, that one good. Yes. If you're landing on the line, then you're doing it right. Oh, that's fine. As long as you're landing on the line, you're good. You can go right and then down, that's fine.
Wait, no, my bad.
Yeah, you're landing on the line every time. So, yeah. If you're landing on the line on that worksheet, then you're getting it right. If you're not landing on the line with your second point, then you're doing something wrong. We need to figure out what. Good, so you're landing on the line, so it looks like you're good. We got about 11 minutes before we do the exit ticket, so some of you look like you're good. So I'm gonna kind of leave you alone and keep working. We'll work with the people that I feel like might not be getting it yet. So if you feel like you're not getting it, you need to let me know if I'm not coming around.
Then you remember that, okay? Just remember it. Don't forget.
But
What?
So number 2 and number 3, remember.
Where's the 4 on the y-intercept? Right there. So there's no. X.
So on number 2 and number 3,
but
There's no y.
I forgot to mention this.
Because it's straight. Slope means it goes like a mountain. If it's straight, there's no
There.
slope.
Whoop, woo,
But if it says,
what about this?
listen, if it says x equals 4, it would be this way. And there would be no slope. Again, does that make sense? Don't cross. If it says y equals, it crosses the y-axis. If it says x equals, it crosses. the
There.
y-axis.
Oh, God, what is it doing? Drives me crazy sometimes.
Go to the next page.
There. All right, so number 2 and number 3.
What's your slope?
I've seen this, and I meant to actually talk about it. These equate. Oh, one day I might break it. Very possible. There we go. So on number 2, this equation. Oh, is actually this. Somebody's in front of you, but you're after them.
Okay.
That's the equation if you had it in slope-intercept form. Because remember, there's a 1 in front of the x if we don't see a 1 there.
Okay. Go to the first page.
For number 3, that would be the equation. There's a 1 in front of that x. So now you should be able to just follow the normal steps.
There's no slope with it. It says y, x-intercept.
Well,
So it's there's no slope.
so it does happen to be on the line.
No, there's no slope.
Oh, okay.
It's x,
If you only did on that.
there's no y-intercept. There's x-intercept.
Just be careful of that though.
This is weird.
And so, pull this out correctly. 4 is your slope. +2, value.
Okay.
You're good. 1
When it
and
says
1,
y equals
correct.
4, it crosses this one, there's no slope.
Slope would actually be 0. You flip
There's
the
a y-intercept there, so put b,
So do these 2, pull those out, and then what I want you to do. So this is the y-intercept.
the
Be that.
y-intercept is 4, and there's no,
Point
it had a
on the
slope,
y-intercept.
find it.
Starting for all of those. Don't even try to graph lines.
Zero.
Point on the y-intercept.
And then
What's
zero.
today's date?
Mhm. You done? No, there's no slope. Because it's going straight up and down. So there's no y-intercept, there's an x-intercept.
So remember the y-intercept started with +1.
No, x.
Right? Started there. And it looks like you're doing that on.
You done?
Oh, and then it's equals again.
So this was.
I can't see.
It's too near.
Y
Well, here you
equals,
go.
so the y-intercept is b, but b equals what?
Oh, then it was.
Alright, so let's take that. Just make sure you're starting on the y. But those look good.
So when it crosses
I'm
the
probably not,
y-intercept, you
there
say
is
y.
one on there like that.
When it crosses the x,
Just
you
get
go
one.
down, and say x.
Huh? You finished all of those?
You missed again.
We'll be doing the exit ticket in 6 minutes, so for now, no phone still, you're just hanging out.
You have a one. Put a one under it.
I know, hopefully you guys
There's
are
no
that back.
fraction?
I-
Slope? Not that. Put a one under that, put a one under that. Make it a fraction, yeah, because it's rising young. No, that's the y-intercept. You put a one under the four. Don't confuse them.
You won't have to worry about this with the exit.
Good. All right. Very good.
You got it? Just keep these out, you can use these for the quiz, so keep them out.
Sure, which one? So the y-intercept is what? It's always after you.
No, well, I mean, you could, I guess, right? You could. You know, where you would say one on it. So you got this written down, -3, good. Now there's slopes, not negative.
Remember, after you.
Slopes positive. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, yeah, it is.
No,
Well, that's not that same. So you're starting where? First one. Perfect, right there. Well, what would your next step be? What do you need to do once you?
Yep.
So what's after we do the y-intercept?
You already have it. It's a negative one. But then when you get rid of the one,
Yeah,
you
there you
make
go.
a fraction.
So we've done the y-intercept here, right? What's it say to
There's
do?
no number under it, what do you put?
There you go. Don't forget the negative sign, yep, that's the slope.
I'll put it right
How
here.
do you know what?
You can just do it there, that's fine.
Slope is one.
Now, next to that, what's it say to do in the third step?
How many
You have
x's
it
are
right
there?
to the side.
Right.
Right next to that, now you have the values you run. Now, it doesn't matter where you put that negative, always
Y-intercept
it's
is
not gonna work in the bubble.
Y.
So positive one would mean right, so a negative three
Slope
means
is
down.
one, negative one over one.
So you have to go right one and down. Well, no,
Oh, wait,
you
across.
start on what you did in
You
number
don't have
one.
to do anything on the
Number
left.
one.
Oh.
You just check it.
There you go, so from there,
Put M equals
you
B,
go over
you
one.
go M equals B, for every one of them.
Okay.
Like you count over one.
I got it.
Okay, got it?
Down four. And then do the slopes for all of them.
Is this both
Then we go
yours?
y-intercept.
You good?
You know which one is the y-intercept, one before the x or after? Write the things for every one of them, because those are marks.
Negative.
I got it, I got it.
What did I say?
Start on this.
There's
Start
no
on that for your y-intercept. You do y and y. Well, now, when you convert it to right over run, never take one negative sign and change it into two negative signs. So you either gotta put it with a 3 or with a 1. I normally put it with the top number. It's already with the top number.
Those are
And then you put it
Okay,
right.
but we for every one of them. And then write the number that's before the x for the slope, for the m, and the mountain. And the slope.
Good. You won't have to worry about anything else.
Got it?
Oh, God, they get to be
You might as well keep
like.
it out. It's possible there might be the same one on there. I don't think.
Right here. The B is y-intercept, put y-intercept right next to it. It's the number after
When
it.
you do this, and it might work
And the
out.
m before the m is
You don't
the
have to
slope.
go straight
And
up
it
to
looks
the
like a mountain, so the mountain's not slope.
Not
That's
sure
how you
if
keep
you're
it.
back.
And the number in front of the x
This
is
is
the
where you
slope.
should be writing rise over run.
So put stick under it.
And your next to that, you write this slope.
So what's the number after the
Negative
x?
one. And then you do rise, yeah.
What's the
See,
number
what you
after
would have
it?
done is you
This one?
And this would be a negative number.
One, like that, right? How many X's are there?
So you would go over the right.
So the one over there.
Whoa, what's that?
Whoa. There's no numbers one.
What's that?
Yeah, there's no.
Oh, yeah. She is close to a,
Because it doesn't reserve it.
All right, real quick, before we do the exit ticket, does anybody need me to go over theirs real quick?
No. You didn't go over mine. We can check it.
You don't have to worry about anything like that. Just the basic ones. All we're doing is just the pretty basic ones for the quiz. I mean, they might have negative signs, but they're gonna have the full equation, something times x plus or minus something. So you won't have to worry about those that just say x equals or y equals. How did you get down to here? You did 4 over 1.
Oh, it's not.
Well, it doesn't matter though. I mean, this is the correct because that slope is positive. It just depends on, like, you wouldn't have really gotten to this point though. That's what I'm wondering. You don't just use the 4 and the 1 and go to like 4, 1 or anything like that. You should be going over 1 and up 4, which might actually go off the graph on that one. Some of these might have gone off the graph on that sheet. It won't happen on the exit ticket though. That's why I said just do the easier ones. All right, so here we go. You can use whatever you want except for each other and except for your phones. So those, I don't think I made the exact same problems or whatever, but maybe I did. So here we go.
This counts as a quiz grade. Right? This counts as a quiz grade.
Yeah, it counts as a pretty good sized quiz grade. Not as big as the main quizzes we did, but I'd say 4 of these make up 1 real quiz grade, and we'll definitely do 4 of these before the end of the. And I also grade a little bit easier on these. So you can get started as soon as I hand it to you. Again, you do not have to worry about the one that says y equals, and then whatever the number is. Different depending on which one you have. Yeah, so you have to do 3 of them. Don't worry about the one that says y equals, and then whatever the number is.
What?
Well, it depends on the test you have. Well, but I don't know what the number, just,
The last one?
but they don't all say y equals 4, trust me. Just don't do the last one, the bottom right one, don't do that. Again, there are different versions, they may look the same, they are not the same.
For real, man. Real deal, dude.
So your process is pull out, I would pull out the m and the b value, even though I didn't put that on here. Pull out the slope and the y-intercept from the equation. Go ahead right now and put a mark through the bottom right one. Just scratch the bottom right one out. Just scratch the bottom, unless you want to do the bottom right one. I might give an extra point or 2 on that if you want to do that one. But you don't have to do it. So bottom right one, you have 5, 10, actually you have more than 15 minutes. I don't know how I got ahead of schedule. Apparently my timer was a little ahead of schedule, which is fine.
M and B, is everything on there?
For you guys online, I'm gonna wind up doing verbal questions with you on this stuff again at some point for your exit tickets, so you can just keep working on the worksheet. So I'll kind of give you some reminders in a minute, but just work on your own for now. The people that are struggling, I'll probably come around and see if I can't give some helpful hints. I can do it for you, but might be more willing to answer some questions on exit tickets than I am on quizzes. That negative sign, and there is a number in front of the yes. So for number I guess it's number 2, they're not numbered. And this should be the case for all of them. It says negative x. What does that actually mean? Negative 1x. So you could write a 1 in between that negative.
We don't do -4.
So if you want to change that equation to negative 1x, and then whatever the rest of it is, that's probably not a bad idea. From there, you just do it exactly the same as you do any other one.
What's your slope? 2 over what?
That's fine, I really just check those first 2 points. Wow, that's a negative slope. That's a negative slope from left to right. Which way is the negative slope?
Like this?
Correct, so you need to figure out what happens. What happened?
Now, what's your right?
Same thing for
What's
you,
your
that's
right?
a negative slope right there, right? That's a negative slope from left to right. Nope, that's also should be a negative slope. You have a couple of negative slopes on these, a negative slope. Remember, if I do a negative slope, it better slope down from left to right if it's negative. So 2 of your answers should be negative slopes. They should slope down from left to right.
Like this?
Kind of scratch that.
So you collect it?
Yeah, I'm collecting these. Put your name on them. Yeah, I'm not just rating them walking around. You're turning these in. So make sure your name is on it. Do that right now.
What's your right and left?
The last one.
What's your number 3?
Thought you might.
If there's no number there, what do you put underneath?
You done? Oh.
You have another number underneath there. There's no number there, what do you put?
There.
Just like this one.
There. Good.
So what's your rise and run? 3 over left.
Good. All right, good.
So you go over how many? Tell me where you're at. How many? No. It's about number. The run is about, but rise and run. Right?
Not too much information, Ms. Oaks.
Run is the,
Not too much.
no.
I don't mind giving a little more help on the exercise.
When you ask,
All I heard was you talking for like 3 or 4 minutes straight there, so let him just do it.
I was asking him to question.
All right.
You got it? Well, you're gonna get,
Good. So I probably won't have these in until later in the week, so don't think that you didn't do well if your grade doesn't change immediately.
are you done?
These are, but it's not a negative slope.
Yeah.
This is Jay.
That one shouldn't be that.
I'm
You must be doing them all, you did the opposite or something. Did you,
Mine 6.
yeah, the other ones flipped, yeah, all of them flipped.
And me.
So I need to see, what process are you doing?
It's just-
That's right. You got that right. And it says, what is the slope? And it's got a factor. We'll see you write that right. Positive 3 over positive 1. Positive, positive is right, positive is right.
1 second.
Because these are getting more positive, right? You're adding 1 every time. Adding 1. So again, this one right here should be sliding down. So, yeah, so again, you got the right starting point, it's there. But from there, you need to write rise over run. You need to write it next to this. You already got it, rise over run next to that. And then your run would be this 2 number. And your rise would be 1 number. If it's negative, you actually need 10. Alright, so try that again.
That's a negative.
There.
Not right.
Why'd you guys do this?
Mr. Gill.
Did I get? You done?
Yeah.
Check first. Far away.
No, because I expect perfection out of you, Fernando.
Okay, wait.
Well, maybe I should.
Yeah, I told you.
So this one right here, negative slope, right? The negative would be the line needs to slope down from left to right. You gotta go up left to right.
Oh, I
So
see.
you just went the wrong way.
You're tripping.
Third eye?
Yeah, same thing here. This is a negative slope. Right? Negative line,
I
the
know
negative
my third eye.
slope
I
is
do
up. So
it
you
too.
went,
Then I saw
you did the right number, but you went over and then up. You got it right.
I
So
see.
instead of going over and up, you went over.
that.
So fix that real quick. Shayla's looks.
No.
Oh, Shayla. Mariah, can you go up there?
No, that one better.
So again,
She does for that one there.
I'm doing this. I need to be very careful. Start in the right spot.
It's slightly bending. You're bending.
Three which way?
I heard that from you. You're right.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Because one's negative. You can make either of them negative.
It's weird because that's the middle.
That has to go with one of the two numbers. Doesn't matter how it's put the top one.
No.
So let's say we put it in the top.
You're
Three is positive.
Be like that. Be like that. Be not.
Well, positive
No,
three is
Shane
positive.
went John.
Positive.
And drawing
I'm
line.
saying with the top.
What?
Positive three is which way?
I don't bend.
Right.
It's
So
okay.
that's correct.
Yeah.
I want you with your pencil to show me three to the right. On the starting, no, we start from this.
Wow.
Air
That's our
balloon.
Y intercept. Always start from our Y intercept.
Hot air
And
balloon.
then it's count three to the right.
Wait.
And then
Turn
from
around.
there,
Now people
we
that's
count
spending water.
there. you go.
What?
So
They have people that's spending water.
there you go.
Yeah.
Only Ant did like 2 times a
So
sit,
same
but
thing here.
me,
You
Shin,
do
and
not
Ant.
know
They're
what
all
you're
attacking
doing.
you.
So
No,
one,
because I was trying to defend you, but every time I tried to, it
Negative
was
one.
me.
Start from the Y.
Me
They were on the
and
water.
Ant. Me and Shane would just push each other off. We couldn't
No, no,
go.
no, no, no,
I
I know what
normally
you
go,
do.
I normally
Me and
go
Ant,
right.
I could push him off, but he could
They
slam
were
me.
water around my legs.
This is a
He
negative slope.
slammed you on me. You
A
know how
negative
much that
slope.
hurt?
It hurt me. Your head went in my spine.
You still be
Your
sloping up.
spine, your whole body went on my
Picked
head.
me up. I grabbed him. I slammed him into the water.
I was trying to push you
Again.
back, but you kept
Finger
moving.
shape.
You know those 2 girls
I
that came
said,
in?
So,
yeah.
so
You
from
just
this point,
looking
you
at
got a
us
starting
like
point.
we go.
And we
Well,
would
they saw
go,
us
so
laugh for like,
this
what,
is
30
right
minutes?
and
We were in a
left.
circle
We'd go
for
over
30
to
seconds,
right,
30 minutes,
and then down.
laughing at nothing.
You're going
Exactly.
over like 3 and
Now,
down 2.
imagine seeing that out of pool.
Correct. You go over
No.
2.
Looking at
Right.
poor kids
Next
just
time,
laughing
next
at
time
them.
we do that, I'll bring the speaker.
So try to fix that.
You're gonna die.
Put phones up, phones up, phones up, phones up. We haven't heard that right yet. Well, there are different versions. So you're gonna get
The
some
only
of
thing
those.
that got me was Aaron.
You're only thinking like that.
Your starting point.
Aaron,
Yo,
after it wore off,
You wrote rock,
I
rise
was
over rock.
hungry or full.
bro, after we were all I was mad hungry.
Well, I was full.
I wasn't
We ate
asking.
2 hamburgers and half a.
So where'd you
half a
weigh it?
pizza.
One negative side and split
Do
it.
you have a ruler?
Yeah.
Dude,
Me
What
and
is
Shane
it?
actually ate half a pizza.
Yeah.
Me
Now,
and Shane actually ate half a
I
pizza.
know, I
Go
ate
over
3
to
slices
and
and
have
I
a
was
quick
not
go
even
with
half
I
and half
said,
full.
me and Shane ate
down.
five.
I was half and half and half
Yeah,
full.
because I lost my voice before, so I had to get in there.
Dude, I got scared, but I washed out of it in my eyes. I just like coming
I
out
like
like
how one actually came out of nowhere, so we're
we're
just.
just sitting there right there, like dumped under the table.
I like how it sat.
He's like, he's gonna run and just like, his head no.
And then we all sat down and then the
Right,
actual monster
right.
came in.
Bro, ants get him so fast. Ants get him.
There
That
you
thing
go.
landed right in front of me, it was black and yellow, I was like, that's.
Bro, I landed on his shirt. Wow.
I just erased it and just threw it back.
Negative slope. Shouldn't be
Styrofoam.
going
That was fun.
Her mom texted me apparently.
Aaron, in the car though, I was tripping big time.
What?
In the car, we were getting pizza and then we went to
There you
your
go.
house.
Bro, I almost dropped the
with this
I
so
normally make
bad,
the
but
top.
I
That
was,
looks like tomorrow.
I almost dropped the pizza.
I tried to look out, I tried to look behind me and I saw everything was there.
We left there, Gill.
We didn't even sit down. We literally put them down where we started grubbing. We literally sit in the house down there. We should have got a bag of like something. We should have got a bag of
That's the same thing on this.
You know how
You have this
much
sloping
party
down.
was all the kids in that tree, remember like kids?
Right.
The teachers are just staring at us.
Over one.
No,
I
he
first
shut
thought
off.
it was
And one of the kids, he didn't say shit. He was like, wow, that pizza smells so good.
No.
I was like,
Too bad you can't have.
too bad.
Yes, like over one. And negative one.
Think about why. I went wrong.
When I was fighting Shane,
Just
you know, I
change
closed my eyes.
You cannot say it like that. That sounds really bad.
Yeah.
You not say it like that. That sounds really bad.
How about I fight Shane? There you go.
Yeah, what if I say?
Alright,
You want
when I was closing my
Stop.
eyes.
to?
Cause he said he right here just looked the same. He just kept
Why don't fight on my bed for? They're trying to fight somewhere else.
No, that was.
He passed out, and so I hear
You're
that.
not gonna fight the back here.
No.
Yeah, they fought my bed.
Look,
I was in the living room watching
Alright,
some Spider-Man
you know
movie,
the
and I hear
Aaron,
No, positive and negative.
you know your lights, right? You know your lights in your room, right?
He turned the lights off.
You know the lights in your room that I told him to look at the phone.
I know, you made him
He
turn down.
passed out.
And
And I was like,
negative one, so
And I
this is negative one over positive two.
He was like, what?
Down
And then he
one.
started slapping me 3 times.
Bro,
Just
y'all are
like-
Fix that real
loud. I was
quick.
in the living room. I literally turned down. Oh, not like that.
Um,
Y'all are just
When he
smacking.
passed out, I was like, "Ooh."
I heard y'all smacking each other. So I ran in there.
This is a
And then he kept
negative
slapping
one.
me. I'm like, chill. I was just
Line.
enjoying.
It's funny, when I opened the door, you both stopped and stared at me.
Here you have.
Yeah, I just saw you open the door and I came back to just.
And playing 2K.
Have a starting point of
Yeah,
positive.
it's just gonna play 2K.
I'm playing
2K. Oh, no, you probably put it on the wrong two. That's what you did.
It's all the way in.
What is
And
it
then
so
you
hard to
went
speak?
straight to the half. You take that,
Why?
you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
start
ask
on
him,
the
bro.
Y.
I kept asking him
And
to
you're
like,
gonna
it's
go
like it was like,
over
no,
two,
one more game,
up
one
or
more
down
game
two.
later, one more game.
I always
You
go
lost
right.
both my
I always
games,
leave my
right?
bottom number positive.
Just no, you lost it, bro.
It's just
You literally
you're
lost
using
both my
negative
games.
I only know he lost one.
You lost both games. The first one was 114 and then the
Yeah,
other one was
Yeah, I don't
105.
remember sleeping at
So
all.
your starting point.
Oh,
I just woke up on the chair and I was like, what
I woke up and Aunt staring at me trying to wake me up.
Right on the three, gotta go make it big.
And you came in there and Aunt started slapping Shane in the face. Trying to wake me up.
Yeah.
Where's your starting point on this?
Is that right?
oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
Bro, what the pizza you bro?
It's weird.
Damn! I got some lotion.
Well done.
Oh, I know I gained a couple pounds from that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I had work. I had Aunt's piece of pizza. I was trying to rip it in half for Shane. I literally ripped him a piece. I was like, that's small.
Yeah. Do I want some?
Tripping so much. Like it started hitting you while you were in the pool, while you were tripping so much.
No. We sat down and started eating. We sat down and started eating.
So,
I was like, what the hell? It already hit me, Shane. Or, I don't know about him.
Why did y'all try to tap me to the water? I couldn't get out of the bathroom. I was stuck in the bathroom for like a minute trying to unlock the door.
just explain, don't waste it. How are you getting?
Oh my God.
I don't know how to unlock it. I twisted it like that. It didn't unlock. I probably twisted it.
Over two and up
Shane
one.
kept tripping over his ear.
Dude,
Dude
now
was tripping over his ear. This is him. This is him.
Bro, I don't know if you're paying attention, but it was wait, yeah, we were all times with Aunt in the water, and we so Shane was getting out of the water, I pushed him back in, he said, okay, that's it, I'm gonna come get you, I pushed him again, then he's okay, I'm come get you, I just kept pushing back into the water.
So you're right two. This is good. Negative one. I like the negative.
Bro, I remember it was like yesterday, bro, that was
If you do this one real quick, same thing, just remember one. Oh, yeah, you pull it.
That blue though, that blue.
Negative one over one. You got the right starting point already.
Alright, but.
Do it again, but I'll bring his finger this time.
Okay, messed up.
Two.
I turn my phone out, Mr. Gill?
No, we still don't do phone. Yeah, we're not even close to that point yet.
Yeah,
We'll
man, like, you
hopefully
like,
get
he's not
there, but right
retarded.
now,
Just
we're
chill.
always on it.
We need someone.
Maybe someone was like, maybe Mark, I'm not bringing Mark.
No, Mark's just gonna talk about Kool-Aid, dude.
Well, go ahead and.
That's all he's gonna talk about, Kool-Aid.
Maybe Bryce. No, Bryce
Oh,
is
Bryce
too
is
chill.
chill.
Jacob. No, it's not.
You did a good job.
At your house, before we went back to mine,
Bro, he was just goofy.
All right, so we'll do at least 3 more of these. 4 of these is the same as 1 quiz.
Sorry.
So if you can continue to get 100% on these, that'll be 100% on a quiz, which will go a long way toward the one you guys just
Jacob
took.
right now, he's in.
Squeeze by
Chill,
again.
all that.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, I'm not promising everybody's going to get 100%, but most of you did. Some of you might have lost a few points, but it'll certainly be A's and B's, it looks like.
I'll get a cheer.
I don't understand how we're in a circuit for 30 minutes laughing.
I don't know, like, you're just laughing for no, it felt like for like.
You guys that are online, just turn that worksheet in. It's not actually due until Wednesday. Hopefully, Cassie, you can get your.
And then we got out. And then
Oh, you can't hear me.
he was like,
Never mind.
just laughing for like 30 minutes.
Hear back what we're gonna do. I'll give you your grade. You work it, man. We'll give you your grade, bro. Don't break and trust me. I was really surprised. And I get it's easy to do, and kids don't think it's a big deal. It is to me. What's done is done. Again, haven't heard back from Mr. Peppers yet, but I expect that your parents are gonna hear about it. I'm assuming. This one would be over one down. Real quick. Come on in. Game tonight?
Yep.
Oh boy, that's scaring me. Alright. Good luck tonight. I probably won't come out tonight, but I will in the future. Because again, you have a -1 on top, and a +1 on the bottom. So +1 is the one to the right, +1 on the bottom, +1 right. Right one, the -1 is the rise, down. So again, these will get your grades up. I won't do this, right? And like I said, you're not the only one. And the funniest thing is, it's none of the kids that I would have been like, oh yeah, I'm not surprised. It's all kids that I was surprised.